Welcome to the shop. Today I'm going to do something a little different. FMS asked me what my top 5 FMS planes were, and I shared with them and decided to make a video on that. Maybe it might be of interest to you on why did I pick these top 5 in these 5 categories. You know, trainer, STOL plane, aerobatic, warbird, and EDF. So in those categories, I've flown a ton of different kind of planes like this. This Ranger for a trainer plane, unfortunately this one's not my favorite. I got a new favorite. Anyway, I want to share all of those share that and show the reasons why I picked those. So, hey, if you have a question, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you on what you think of those 5. Maybe you have different, you probably do. Also, I'll have links in the description below for all the full reviews on those planes and a link to the FMS website. Also, a discount code for 10% off the FMS store. When I'm looking at, what is my favorite, trainer, I look at first, what makes a great trainer? And obviously the most important thing is it's easy to fly. It flies slow. If you can't reach that, well, then it's not a very good trainer. The other part is the durability aspect of it. Can it take a beating because as a new pilot, you're going to beat it up? One of the other things I think is critical is that it doesn't have any of those nasty stall characteristics. This particular plane here, trying to get it to drop a wing and really have an issue at slow flight, it's hard to do. This thing just really, the wing load on it is so wonderful that it just makes this that perfect slow fly trainer plane. One of the things I also like about it is the fact that you can put a large battery in and maximize airtime, because that's what this is all about, learning to fly. You want those 5, 6, 7 minute flights that you can really practice landings or practice some of your basic functionality stuff. Lights, flaps aren't critical, but in low light conditions or with the flaps with the slow flight, it does really aid it quite a bit, and I definitely give it a thumbs up. The last part I would say is that you want a plane that you can take to the field easily, and this one with taking the wings off, struts, those things, and it just all clicks together and goes together very quickly with those thumb screws, kind of the mod that I put on it, made this plane for me absolutely. This is the best trainer, and this is the one that I use when I'm helping people learn to fly now. Used to be the smaller Ranger, but not anymore. This 1.8 is the ticket. Favorite STOL plane? I've had a lot of different STOL planes from FMS, and they're all good, but they're not the best. And for me, for sure, the best is this 1.7 Super Cub. Again, when you look at what makes a great STOL plane, clearly it's got to fly slow. You got to be able to throw those flaps down, and this thing just moseys around easy. The other part is plenty of power for those short takeoffs, and some of the maneuvers you might want to do a little bit more aerobatic-y, if you will. Gotta have a just bomb-proof landing gear, and this Super Cub, the PA-18 from FMS, man, that landing gear is great. Tires I'm not crazy about, but the landing gear is really solid. Very well done. With a lot of these kind of planes, I like to fly low, slow, cruise around, lots of touch and goes in the grass, or 3-point the runway. I want long flight times, and this is a really efficient system. You can get decent flight times out of it. I normally fly with the 2200, but you can absolutely put a slightly larger battery in and get longer flight times. When you're doing these slow flights, you also want to make sure the plane's not going to stall when you kick in a little rudder and a little cross control. And this plane, because it is so light, the wing load on it, it's fantastic. It doesn't have those nasty habits. Huge control surfaces. So again, getting into more of the aerobatic part of this, that this plane can do some of the fun aerobatics because of the large tail section. And then last part, and I kind of talk about this with all these planes, how easy is it to bring to the field? If it's a pain in the rear to tear down and take apart, then it's not going to come to the field very often. So this one's super simple. Struts snap into place. You've got a couple pins that you have to put in, but very, very simple, quick field assembly. Hands down, the FMS Pit Special is my favorite aerobatic, scale aerobatic plane. You know, the Pitts itself, it's a beautiful plane. You know, it's kind of that stout, short, stubby, powerful, just ticked off kind of airplane. 6S, 1.4 wingspan, so it's big. For a biplane, it's a pretty good size. And this one, just the flight characteristics are excellent. Yes, it'll do all the fun aerobatics, big loops, Cuban 8s, you know, inverted well. Everything about it is really well balanced and flies well. I'm using a Spectrum AS3X Plus on it, which enables it to stabilize it a little bit in some of the inclement weather that I might have. But as you saw, the tumbling, the knife edge, everything about it is super. The other thing, I have been flying the heck out of this, and even though it's an older model with foam hinges, really the only upgrades I made were putting on a different prop. I added a back plate on the canopy so the battery couldn't shift, and I changed the wheels. All three wheels have been changed to rubber wheels, foam wheels, to just reduce that noise that happens through those wheel pans. Fantastic flyer though, for sure. The other part is, if I do my job right, it lands exceptionally smooth. Now, going to the field, it is not a simple process. You do have a lot of pieces and parts. You got two wings, struts, so you're basically screwing down the wings, attaching the struts, connecting the bottom servo control arm to the top ailerons, plugging everything in on the inside, and then throwing in a 6S battery and having at it. Fantastic plane. I'm super glad I got it. When it comes to my favorite FMS warbird, and boy, FMS puts out some really great warbirds, but I have to say that absolutely my favorite is that F7F Tiger Cat 1.7. It's just a beast, and it is the easiest warbird to fly if you know how to use that throttle. If I use the throttle, what I really mean is on those landings. Being able to modulate that throttle and get the speed and descent right is super important for this big heavy plane. Because if you hit those landings a little too hard, you're going to mess up this beautiful, outstanding landing here. Life with my Tiger Cat hasn't always been a bowl full of cherries. I had a signal loss, telemetry loss on a system because my power to my receiver was intermittent when inverted and crashed it. But put it on the bench and repaired it, and I have a whole video on that process. As I'm looking at all these, planes that I like, they're obviously bigger planes, and this is obviously a big plane, big presence in the air, twin engine, makes a lot of noise, very fancy landing gears, everything about it is big. Anyway, one of the things that is a challenge is taking it to the field because it is so large. You either have to take off both wings. In my case, I take off one wing because I've got a pickup truck. But it's an easy process to assemble. It just takes a little bit of time and finesse. But it's fantastic plane, and it's definitely worth it. Favorite FMS EDF? I've had a lot. The A10, the Integral, which was interesting, the Futura, which really flew well and it was a lot of fun, and the F86. Who doesn't love that? But I gotta say, the 90mm Avanti to me just checks all the boxes of having a fantastic EDF that will fly, crazy, sporty, fun, and it will slow down and land pretty easy. So let me get into a couple features about it, why I like it. Of course, with a sport jet, you want speed, and this thing clocks at close to 120 miles an hour. Not quite, but close, at least with the stock setup. And then on top of that, you have just the way it carves, the way it does precision aerobatics, which suits me better. Yes, it'll do some tumbles and some, stuff like that. But for me, doing just a really nice Cuban 8, flying inverted, do a knife edge. It'll do that kind of stuff all day. Now the other part that I think is fantastic about the plane is that it will slow down. So as I said, this thing will slow down quite a bit, and coming in for landing, dropping the gear, dropping the flaps, and just setting up for landing, you'll notice that this thing, and it's solid. It's not dropping a wing, it's not stalling on you. Yeah, you can stall it, but it comes in nice and easy, which obviously makes these landings look so good. Don't get me wrong, FMS has made many really good planes in all these categories: trainers, STOL, aerobatics, warbirds, a host of warbirds, and a bunch of EDFs. All really good, solid planes. But these were my favorite. These are the planes that typically go to the field most of the time with me. But I've got too many planes, ask my wife. Anyway, hope you enjoy the video. If you have any questions, leave a comment. If you like this stuff, hit the like button. And as always, there's links in the description below for a whole bunch of stuff, including the discount code for FMS. Get yourself 10% off on some of these planes. Take care. Have a great day.